Item number 2 is here, an update from the administration concerning the Gateway and Bill Board projects. I know we had a very successful retreat. I didn't know if you were in a position to report on that now, Mr. Hess.
Absolutely.
Rural economic development for the city a little bit. See, if I was in the Gator meeting, I'd say it'd be Clifford Mola from Gator. I said Clifton. I said Elton Pody when I'm around the table. Kind of busy, huh? This is something we've been talking about. It's arduous task. It seems like it's easy, but when we're doing gateways and signage, we have a lot of issues to research, and I think the administration is certainly in the middle of doing this. I want to commend Mr. Hess. What appears to be a pretty detailed.
Well, we've discussed this numerous times before, and I think now it's time to come to a resolution of it. And I just want to go through it again with you, and first talk about the gateway signage. Gateway signage, as we talked about before, is a higher end type of signage that basically welcomes folks to our city, acknowledges the entrance, the gateways to our city. It involves signage that is on a much higher level. It's a wood carved type of a sign. It's a permanent sign. It's not the billboards that we were talking about. I'll get to that in a little bit. It's also a signage area that has permanent landscaping that is changed out periodically throughout the seasons of the year, and we've been able to work out arrangements with utilizing some of our inmate labor to assist us on doing just that. However, to start out with, the initial locations that is being suggested, and keep in mind in jumping to the end of the report in reference to this, these are recommended locations, but we're looking at doing a total of 3 locations per year for a total of 9 locations. So quite frankly, these initial first-year locations, it's not that relevant that we specifically use these suggested locations. Council has the right to certainly to have an input on this, and let us know 3 locations if you have any differences as far as these suggestions are concerned. The idea of doing 3 per year is just, quite frankly, for budgetary purposes, so that we can spread these expenses out over a 3-year period of time. Because as you'll see, the estimated cost of the sign panels themselves is $12,000 each. Now these have a long life expectancy, but that's $36,000 for 3 signs. Landscaping, as I indicate below, is 1,000 square feet per signage area, and the estimate for that is $3 a square foot, but that adds up to $9,000 for 3 signs. And then you incorporate the drip irrigation system in, which is certainly needed in this part of the country, and that's at $1,500 each, so that's another $4,500. And then the lighting is another $1,500 each, so that's $4,500. So at the end of the day, you're looking at a $54,000 price tag estimated for 3 signs. So that's why we were talking about spreading this out over a 3-year period of time so that it can be budgeted for. But again, these locations are suggested locations, and I've heard from folks that are they have some other thoughts on where the location should go. That's something that I really defer to City Council. But I'd like to be able to receive the okay to proceed with going out and going out to bid on these things. $54,000 is I think significant, but it's something that we've agreed to as needed. So that's the dialogue regarding the gateway signage. If you want to chat about that for a little
The
bit.
design would be the city logo? Or?
Yes, that's the city logo, the new city logo, and it would be a welcome type of sign, but the predominant image would be our city logo, like you see on my pin here.
It's really 162,000, is that what it is?
Well, times if you do 9 signs, you know, and just trying to spread that hit out over a 3-year period of time. We can, if you want to do it quicker, we can do it quicker.
Mr. Silverman, and I see Mr. Johnson.
The only suggestion I have is what you mentioned earlier, that there be some flexibility in the initial location and future location,
Sure.
depending on how the traffic thing works and what our analysis
Yeah.
is, rather than just let it set. Because even in a set specific location, it's amazing how after a certain length of time, other than newcomers, they just don't see it any longer.
Yeah, I don't want to be married to a specific sign location. I think that's something that we do as a group and determine where we're going to put it. But we need to, for the sake of proceeding, I'd like to, you know, as I said, get the approval to move forward with and follow proper purchasing procedures and at least get the first 3 underway. And of course, we'd come back to you with, you know, the proof of what the sign would look like and so on and that type of stuff.
Mr. Johnson.
You know, we've talked about this for the last 2 years. We've had in committee, we've discussed this, we've reviewed this project just as Mr. Hess has stated, and I think it's time for us to move to get this done based on his proposal, based on what he would like to come back before this council with. So it would be my recommendation based on the gateway signage. What he's provided for us today is to allow him, based on the administration, as council, to move forward with this project.
Are you including that recommendation? Do I have a second? And moving properly second. We have more discussion, but I want to make sure we have clarification on the initial location. Mr. Fowler.
I have no problem with the locations as stated. The one thing that I'd like to consider or have the administration and council to consider is to identify the 9 locations and then approach them, I guess, maybe with the highest traffic count first, and then go to the lowest traffic count to have more exposure with the gateways that way. That's just a thought. And these may well be the highest traffic count areas. I don't know how you derive at locations, but
Well,
that's what I would suggest.
I'll defer to Kay on that one.
She's probably wrong.
Ms. McGill.
Never wrong. And if you haven't learned that yet,
I'm sorry, I never would have said that.
actually Darren Green has been looking at this for a while. Darren Green is the urban forester. And he drove around and surveyed all of the different locations that would qualify as gateways. And when we sat down and talked about it, we thought these were the most appropriate for sort of the inner city part, and then we would move out from there. They were just the 3 locations that we thought fit for our initial plan to move forward with. One is at Highway 1 as you come in from Marksville, and then one is over here when you come across the Jackson Street Bridge right behind the Riverfront Center. And then the third one is as you come off of I-49 onto Martin Luther King Drive, sort of by Shiloh Baptist Church, and that's a really nice location for one. Those are all 3 very suitable locations. They'll be very visible. The signage that he's looked at is comparative to the signage that Pineville has when you go across the Purple Heart Bridge. In fact, he's talked to the same company that constructed their gateway, so it would be very similar to that.
Okay. Well, if it's the pleasure of the committee, we'll move that second.
I so move.
Second. No discussion? You know?
Very good.
Anybody?
The next item is the billboard proposal for marketing. Now, we have a bit of a issue here. Since the approval or the subject talk about KJA's contract has been tabled. The pricing that I have is through both Lamar Advertising, number one, and also through KJA as the marketing agency that would handle this. Keep in mind that these arrangements go back to October that I've been working on this, and so it'd be nice to get past the KJA issue because if we approve this, I'm going to have to go directly to Lamar Advertising. Not that that's a problem, but you can get a reduction in the fee by going through an agency like KJA versus going directly to Lamar. So I just want to point out that because of that, that delay and so on, that this is creating a bit of a glitch in this. You almost need one without the,
Is that a legal or a moral error?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't know if I got approval. It's like, who do I contract with? KJA, we just had discussions with them because they would handle the changing out of the advertising panels and so on, and act as our agent to do that, rather because I'm a little stretched myself because in my division it's me, myself, and I.
I guess I probably push the billboard issue as much as anyone. I'd like to see the plan for the billboards. What is it going to do to invite folk that typically would pass through our city to exit and visit our city? Is what I'd like to see.
Yeah,
I probably want to see a little bit.
Well, I have a full report that I would be happy to give you. Matter of fact, it may have been presented back in October, but
I would recommend that you proceed on the basis that right now KJ is eliminated from the mix, and let's see if we can get on. We have to have it no matter what happens.
Well, okay, it changes the numbers around somewhat. They're higher with Lamar Advertising, but certainly would.
You mean Lamar Advertising that does our bus stops?
We don't
do the advertising on our buses?
They get an agency discount, and that's how that works. So but the whole concept of this was to come up with initially 6 locations of billboards that would be placed at the various entry points into the city. I-49 is an example as you're coming from the south heading north. And to be able to offer to motorists the opportunity to see just what's going on at the specific time within the city of Alexandria, so that they would afford them an option of either coming into our city or taking a loop around. It ranges from events such as Queuing on the Red as an obvious example to a standard invitation to visit our zoo, to indicate that there's shopping, retail just ahead, those type of things. And then also it would allow us to change out in a very quick, timely manner so that we could address community functions that are occurring, whatever they may be. We have a lot going on in the city. And if nothing more than the acknowledgement of where you're at, welcome to Alexandria, Louisiana. So it would the fact that we do 6 billboards, we're looking at a cost, including change out of the artwork and so on, in a neighborhood of about $3,800 to $4,000 a month if you go with all 6 rather, and that includes changing out, assuming you're changing out on a monthly basis. If you don't change out, it's not going to be as expensive.
Was next, and then Mr. Johnson.
What I was going to say, in view of your concern and the fact that we don't have them yet, and we may have something at the next meeting, I would suggest that we put everything on hold, give you an opportunity to submit what you have at the moment, just look at aesthetically and put that on hold.
I regret. I really hadn't planned on delaying this at all. It's pretty difficult to have a discussion about this when you don't have an agreement in place with a KJA who we had planned on using. And so if we can get past that issue and then, but you can do this, but, you know, I'm somewhat impatient, and I really share the feelings of Councilman Johnson that, you know, we really got to get moving on this, to be simplistic about it.
Mr. Johnson.
Going back to the billboards, you're looking at also the animated. I know Lamar has the new type billboards now.
They do have those. These are not included in that. The price of those are considerably more, but they're doable. They last, for each message, I believe, is 12 seconds, 10 to 12 seconds that it stays on, and then it switches out. The price is a little bit more. They're eye-catching, there's no doubt about that. And we could go that route. It's a few $100s more.
What are we looking at so far as the differential on cost versus Lamar versus not having KJA to participate in this process?
Sure. From what I can see, there's a reduction in cost of the of changing out the print. It's a lesser cost of artwork. There is a reduction of a few $100s in the actual direct purchase. I'm just looking at my notes here to try to give you something a little bit more than that. Okay, let's take one example of the example of Pineville Expressway. Through Lamar, it's $1,050 a month. KJA, you save $30. The $30 reduction. Another example is, let's see. It's about like that, like, you know, $100 here and there. It's not significant.
Where are we with our queuing on the red advertisements? Is that tied to this?
Well, we would.
It's separate and apart.
Well, we would incorporate that special event into this signage, but other than that, it's no direct.
Now, did we make a commitment, a soft commitment to utilize their artwork, KJA's artwork on this?
No, but there's been no commitment since there's been no contract. So.
I guess my thing is I would like to go forward, eventually get something done, but by the same token, I'd like to see what we're doing. I do remember you giving us something very nice, but I'd like us to see that we're encouraging people and luring them to get off the interstate. When I say luring, I don't mean hoodwinking them, saying it's 200 restaurants and exit here and you see 17 7-Elevens. But something that's going to lure people to come off the interstate.
Well, I'll recopy my October report, and then if you'd like, I'll also ask for some examples of artwork and just what they would look like.
Maybe a PowerPoint.
And I'll be more than happy to do it.
Let me make this clear. I didn't quite understand your numbers on the KJ versus Lamar. Is that $30 a sign per month?
Yeah, that's what I'm just one example. I looked at the Pineville.
$1,440
it's
for 4 signs.
Lamar is $1,050 per month, and KJ is $1,020.
That times 4 signs.
And they all vary. They're all different. Their prices, depending on that's the most expensive one. Following that, you have one for.
And what does Lamar charge to do artwork and hang it versus KJ?
Yeah. Well, let's see if I can.
Sure, I want Lamar to know. No offense to Lamar.
No, I'm not. It's let's see.
Not Lamar White.
Yeah, it's not.
How many signs you have, Lamar?
The artwork is anywhere. I mean, the sign panels anywhere from $175 to $500 for Lamar, and it appears to be about the same, or again, just slightly under for KJA. From what I can tell, looking at this, We're only looking at $30, $40, $50, something like that on each particular situation.
KJA is less than
But,
Lamar,
but
correct?
what I want to make a point out is that there's a big difference between Bill Hess calling Lamar and following through the entire procedure versus KJA handling it. Unless we want to assign this to some staff, I don't, you know, I'm just a one-person show here. So, I mean, quite honestly, I don't think I can keep up with all this stuff. Okay,
I'd like
so-
to see some of your design work before we ask you to.
You would? Okay. I'll draw something out on
Mr.
that.
Hobbs, and then I think Mr. Johnson was next.
Well, my thought was that since Lamar put the signage on our buses, why we couldn't go to them with some kind of deal. We're not making no big money off what they're doing on the buses anyway. And that would offset some of the costs. If, you know, on what they're doing on the buses.
Okay.
Because
All right.
I think, you know, there should be some kind of proposal, something where we can offset, we can advertise on our buses, if we can, you advertise us on the bill for
I think that's something that needs to be considered. Why don't we just, Mr. Johnson may suggest this, but let's sharpen the pencil a little bit more on this piece with Lamar and go forward on the gateway signage, which I'm very pleased
Okay.
with. Mr. Johnson?
But yes, that's what I wanted to state is that, in the point of clarification, let's move forward with the Gateway project and come back with the artwork and design on the,
Massage this some more.
right, for the billboards. Move forward with the Gateway.
I think that motion's already been made.
Right, and most of them carried, thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Appreciate that direction.
Look forward to a PowerPoint,
Absolutely.
whatever we need to see on
I'll put it in print and distribute it to council.
PowerPoint.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 3 is